Hey everybody, ronarray here, and I think it's the perfect time to level your second characters in Path of Exile 2 if you are still playing the game. So in this video, I want to showcase the setup with which I finished the campaign in 3 hours and 54 minutes, so under 4 hours. Without a lot of issues, running fast, killing all the bosses easily and just having fun in the process. If you will follow it, you can run campaign without a lot of issues and it will be much more pleasant than the slow slogs that we usually have for it. It's going to utilize a few different skills and swaps of a few sets of items. I'm going to go over all of them. I also make sure that most of them are not really too expensive and you will be able to just buy them without a lot of issues and run campaign as fast as me. Let's go! So now, let's talk about the items that are required for you to run the campaign the same way. You can use that way for practically any kind of character. It works a little better for characters that on the right side of the tree, such as Amazon, Monk or Ranger. But it could be used for other types of character as well, and there's not a lot of issues with that. So now let's talk about the items and the setup in general. We're currently not using any bugs or broken animations, so it's much easier to do that compared to other ways to run the campaign. You will be able to just run through and kill enemies very fast without bothering with additional clicks or timings. And as the main item, we're going to use Fog Shade Quilted Vest because it's giving us 10% increased movement speed. Add the runes in for resistances, and we're going to wear that body armor through the whole run. So just wear it. And as a belt we're going to use Maginot Girdle. That way we can have additional corruption right here for more resistances. I recommend cold or lightning. I basically have double cold right here, 15 and 22. And make sure that your strength on the belt is as high as possible, and perfectly you need at least 45. It's going to help us significantly, and if you will have charm slots on top, it would help a lot as well, mostly for immunity charm and additional resistances charms. At the start, we are going to use Wings of Kalin Rusted Helmet. That helmet is pretty nice, there's no level requirement, and it's going to provide us with initial dexterity. So just wear it at level 1. However, around level 5, I recommend to swap to Grey Make Brimmed Helmet. I think that's a very good helmet. It provides a lot of strength for life, dexterity and intelligence. So we're going to wear that helmet from level 5 up to level 27. And at level 27, I recommend to just swap helmet to Thrill Steel, Spirit Graham, because Onslaught right now is a very cool bonus. It gives 10% increased movement speed and 20% increased skill speed. It's going to improve both our DPS and the speed with which we are running through the campaign. So I definitely recommend to swap at level 27. Make sure that you have the same runes for resistances in both Grey Make and Thrill Steel. Also remember that you need to use only 10% resistance runes, because otherwise they're going to be a special level requirement. And that's the set of the helmet that we are running, so we are starting with Wings, Grey Make then, and Thrill Steel at the end. Same goes for other items as well, we are going to replace a few. For the boots, we are starting with Luminous Space, because Luminous Space, the only good boots that we can have at level 1. So practically that's your starter. After that, around level 11, re-picking them for Wanderlust, it's heavily recommended. You will be able to receive significantly more movement speed with Wanderlust, and that way, after level 11, just use Wanderlust instead and drop Luminous Space back. Here comes another cool trick that we are going to utilize. We can swap Wake of Destruction to fight bosses faster. So when you're coming to the boss and you're up to fight him, we can just swap Wake of Destruction instead of Wanderlust and we will deal more damage. You can get Wake of Destruction with a little more lightning damage to attacks, but basically it's going to provide a very decent bonus even if you will take a very bad roll once. And after level 33, so pretty late in the campaign, I recommend to change our Wanderlust to pretty much bushwhack large scale boots. That way you will have even more movement speed and even more dexterity. Here you can get a corruption, for example I have 3% increased movement speed right here, finishing at 28% of movement speed, which is a pretty big number. And if you don't want to swap and you can just run Wanderlust. In that case you will be a little slower, like 5% slower, and will have less dexterity, but it's possible as well. But currently the setup looks basically like that. When you're going Luminous, then you go Wanderlust, then you go Bushwhack. And Wake of Destruction is here, only to be repicked at bosses and then repicked back to fast running boosts. So moving forward, it's also pretty important to use a proper weapon. For the weapons we are going to use spears, and I'm going to showcase the skill set later too. But we're starting with Splinter of Larata. If you can get Corruption together with Rune here, it will be just perfect for higher DPS. 1 to 41 lightning damage Corruption, making Splinter of Larata just a very good weapon for the start. You can wear it from level 1 and it's going to improve your damage significantly. Next step, around level 16, you need to start using Sky Silver Winged Spear. That spear is pretty good, it's dealing very decent damage and has huge attack speed, so generally it will be much better to clear with it. And around level 30, I recommend to go for Tangle Tongue Forked Spear, because that way we will have significant critical, and we will be able to crit enemies consistently. Also Fork's critical strikes work very good, and it should improve the whole situation with your crits too. So Tangle Tongue is recommended around level 26. I have level 30 requirement right here because I have higher runes than there, like Greater Storm runes. I recommend to just get basic runes in at the start and replace it for Greater Storm runes later when you will be 30. And Tangle Tongue is going to be our weapon up until the end. I'm not really using very expensive Tangle Tongue, you can get something like that for less than 1 divine, around 90 exalted approximately. So 16 to 17 critical hit chance, and it's going to work just perfectly for us. So starting with Larata, then going Sky Silver, then going Tangle Tongue. And moving forward, I'm also going to cover what we are using at our second hand, and we're going to use a Scepter. A lot of people are trying to aim for unique Scepter right here, but I feel like it's much easier to just search for Scepter with around 100 Spirit and level 16, level 18 requirement. It will be much cheaper than going for very expensive unique, and I definitely recommend it. If you can get mana, regeneration or just mana on top of it, it will be just perfect. So at the start we're practically using nothing, and from level 16, level 18 we can just run the Scepter, and that Scepter is going to stay with us up until the end. It also should grant you Malice, because Malice gives you while active emits an aura that consistently inflicts critical weakness on enemies in your presence. That's a very cool bonus, and your Scepter should have Malice skill because it's going to improve our damage significantly. So most part of the campaign you can just run basic setup with Scepter and Spear. You probably also noticed that I have a shield right here, and we're going to use a shield for the second slot. I recommend to take Dinadair because it's a basic unique shield that you can use at the start. And it's also going to give you a little life regeneration when you're swapping. So for the second set we're just using the shield, and for the main set we're just running Tangle Tongue and Scepter. Shield is always going to be in the second set, so we could use Shield Charge. Shield Charge is going to help us significantly while running and can be used to just move faster. If you're not really up to use it, you can just run because your movement speed is already high, but that's absolutely alright, and I still recommend to use Shield Charge. You don't really need a weapon here, but if you can get a basic maze, bind it from Renly in Act 1, that will work just fine for you. So another interesting part is gloves. At the start, I recommend to go for North Paw Bracers. It's going to give you physical damage to attacks and a little critical damage bonus, which is not really that important. But it's also going to give you base critical hit chance for attack with weapons is 7%. Because both Larata and Sky Silver have only 5% base critical hit chance, so that will be an improvement and some physical damage on top. You can wear North Paw from the start, so like level 1 requirement, you could just wear them. And around level 26, when you will be close to respec to Tangle Tongue, you need to drop North Paw. It's pretty important because otherwise your base critical hit chance will go down. And just pick any rare gloves with life, mana, attack speed and lightning damage to attacks. It probably will be enough, so I've been using those through the whole campaign because the damage they provide is pretty much good enough. So start with Northpaw, replace to rare later on. And another question is Amulet. Right here we have a few options. We're starting with Everlasting Gaze to just fix our mana at level 1, and around level 14 I'm respeccing to Rondel of Fragility. It's going to give you huge amount of damage. 45% increased damage, 29% increased critical hit chance and 29% increased skill speed, so your skills will feel much more smooth. The downside, you'll have minus 30 to all elemental resistances, so character will be a little squishy. Make sure that you're dodging everything, that you're not one-shooting. I think the only question one that could be a little harder for you, it could be bosses, so don't use that on hardcore. If you're playing hardcore, you will probably need to use another amulet, or you can just stay with even Everlasting Gaze or take any base rare later on. But if you're not playing hardcore and you can die like once or twice during your whole campaign run, you can take Rondel of Fragility and you will be fine because it's going to improve your damage significantly. I've been running with it the whole run, I think it's pretty much worth it. Talking about the rings, we are going to have a full set of rings, and we will need to change it a few times to improve our damage. So we are starting with Blackheart Iron Ring. It gives chaos damage and physical damage, so it's absolutely awesome. However, around level 20, we will need to replace those rings for rings with some resistances, because our resistances will be pretty low with Rondel of Fragility, and as much lightning damage as possible. So for level 20, I recommend to go like 1 to 22, 1 to 18 lightning damage to attacks. If you can get some attributes or life on top of it, it's going to feel even better. But most of the time, just focus on resistances. And around level 38-40, we will need to replace the rings again. That time, we can roll much more resistances, we can roll much more life and much more lightning damage bonus to attacks, so it's going to provide significantly more. If you can get cold damage or fire damage bonus to attacks, it's probably going to feel even better. With those rings, you will be able to finish the campaign and both of those like 20 exalted approximately in the current economy. So make sure that you're changing your rings from Blackheart to rare and rare again around 40, because that's a very important part of your damage. If you will not change the rings, your damage can fall off because Tangle Tongue itself is not really providing that much flat damage right now. Now, let's talk about the skills that we are going to use. First off, we are going to use Lightning Spear, and Lightning Spear is our main skill that will be available from level 6. Before level 6, you will be able to use Virulent Slash or Twister. Both of them are going to do a pretty decent job. Just make sure to add like Martial Tempo and Primal Armament or Lightning Infusion as a supports. And after level 6, you will be able to run Lightning Spear. I recommend to prepare the gem in advance, so just have Lightning Spear with full open, like at least 4 sockets. You will be able to use it at any level. And as the supports for Lightning Spear, I recommend to go Vault, Perpetual Charge, Ambush and Primal Armament. If you feel like you need a little more damage at the start of the campaign, like around Act 1, you can use Lightning Infusion instead of Perpetual Charge, because you're not going to generate a lot of charges anyway. And after that, our next skill that we are going to use against the bosses later on is Stormlance. It will be available pretty early as well, and for the Stormlance I recommend to prepare gem in advance as well. You will need 4 sockets, running Deliberation, Lightning Infusion, Martial Tempo and Execute. I think Execute here is a huge bonus to damage, so it should work just fine for you. Stormlance, even without charges, is doing pretty decent damage and you will be able to throw them very fast. Shield Charge is also available very early. I have Shield Charge at level 10 right here, level 4 of the skill itself, and you can just use it with your basic Tower Shield. We're also going to use Barrage. Make sure that you level up your Barrage, and you will constantly use it after it became available. Premeditation and Inhibitor, both supports for Barrage, we don't need anything else. As Spirit Gems, we're going to use Heart of Thunder together with Innervate, Electrocute and Neural Overload. it's going to make sure that we are getting the charges together with Combat Frenzy. Combat Frenzy and Herald of Thunder that is electrocuting is going to give us charges while we're running through the campaign. And for Combat Frenzy, I'm using Clarity and Precision. If you need more charges, you can use Profusion in there, but I prefer to use Profusion in the Sniper Mark. Sniper Mark will become available around like level 20, and you will be able to use it together with Profusion, Ingenuity, and Arcane Tempo. For the bosses, Sniper Mark is very important, so you're going to manually cast your Sniper Mark every time when you're hitting the boss, then just cast the Barrage, and then just cast Stormlance. That's how rotation goes, and it should work just perfectly. Another cool bonus that we can utilize is a Companion. Companion here is going to provide haste, speed, aura for us. We will move and attack faster while Companion is close to us. So I definitely recommend to take that boar. You can take that boar and Act 3 in the Infested Barrens as just like a camp. Make sure that you're just clicking escape and respawn at the closest point, and that way you will be able to reroll the animals around. When you will find a proper boar with haste aura, you can just click the Tame Beast button with as low level as possible. It's around level 31, and at level 31 after you clicked it, you can just kill the beast and you will get Companion Dartax board gem. You can prepare it in advance too, so just take it out of your stash while you're running. Companion is also should have like Meat Shield, Elemental Army, and Magnified Effect, which is pretty nice for us. Nothing else is important, and we're going to reserve Spirit for Companion just fine. So I think right now it's also perfect time to talk about our tree. Generally, we will need to go to the right, so if you're starting like Reach, you need to go like here, and to the right as well. If you're starting here, you just need to go to the right too. And I think the hardest start is pretty much here and here, because it will be much harder to reach to the right, but you can still do that while going through basic nodes. Perfect start is around there. We're picking all movement speed nodes for Amazon, and we're picking damage nodes as well. After that, we're going down. We're picking Primal Sundering, it's very good for damage. We're picking Escape Velocity for movement speed. Going down there, taking Maiming Strike because there's like 2% movement speed bonus right here. Taking Catalysis because it's very good for damage too. Going down there, picking bonuses for Spears together with Acceleration for more movement speed. And after that we're going to the right, picking Herald bonus, Crit bonus when we're already reaching Tangle Tank. And after that we can just go to the left, take Pin and Run, and Step like Mist, because it's going to improve our movement speed even further. And we're going to Pin, because Bushwhack gives us physical damage as pinning. So pretty often we're going to Pin, and we're going to receive bonus from Pin and Run. After all of that is ready, we can just go for Companion nodes to improve our damage even further. First, we just need to take all of those, take Inspiring Ally, increasing reductions to Companion damage also applied to you. And that way, all those little nodes are going to provide 12% of increased damage, which is absolutely awesome if you're using the Companion. And after that, we can also pick small ones here. Minions have 20% increased area of effect, which is pretty nice, and it's going to give us bigger aura for our Companion. Since Companion is not really staying too close to us, sometimes he will run away, so I think that bonus is pretty good. It's called Long Distance Relationship. And that's pretty much how the tree should look like approximately. If you're playing an other class, you will have less points, and you can drop Companion bonuses, for example, or Crit bonuses right here to save some points. You're probably going to be just fine, and you'll need to spend like 10 additional points, so it's just going to make your start a little slower. But for Amazon or for Ranger or for Monk, start is going to be very good because you can practically get there very fast. So such tree would be very optimized. And for the jewel sockets, I recommend to just take basic jewels with 2% increased movement speed, because in my opinion it's good enough. If you can have like elemental damage on top, it will be very nice and it's going to improve your damage. Another cool note, please don't take the critical notes here or there before you swap to Tangle Tank, because if you don't have Tangle Tank, it's not going to crit pretty often. That way your speed should be pretty high, and you should be around like 65% movement speed modifier. and it's going to work very good because you will be able to just run through campaign without a lot of issues. So I hope that guide will help you to run the campaign in a pretty decent time, perfectly under 4 hours and without a lot of issues. Thank you very much for watching as usual, and I hope you're still having fun. ronarray out.